When I first heard VOP, I thought they were talking about me because I'm a voice-over personality. But no, this is Voice of the People TV, and you are riveted forever because this is the place to be.
You guys, your boy Chella. Shout out to VOP TV. I love you guys.
Salut, salut tout le monde. Suspect 95. Là, on est sur VOP TV. On passe un bon temps. J'espère que vous kiffez. On est au Afrima. On est ensemble. VOP TV.
Don't see me like a fool because I don't do giddy giddy giddy. VOP, you don't know Stoneware from Ghana representing live and living color. Yeah, Beam Nation President. Outside with it. Bless up.
Hello, this is Milo from Ivory Coast. Keep watch Voice of the People TV. Regardez la voix du peuple, la télévision de la voix du peuple. Que Dieu vous bénisse. À très bientôt. Love you so much.
Hi guys, what's up? This is Gaze Baba. I am watching VOP TV. Usually you be told to not touch the dial, but I tell you to touch the dial and increase the volume. Like, keep it locked. It's Afro Gospel. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Shego Arunze. You're watching VOP. Don't change the dial.
My Joe, fine girl. My Joe, fine babe. Only are you, but on the Fuji Monsoon. Yes, don't touch the dial. This is me, Dr. Adiwala Iba. Keep watching VOP TV.
In a world where power shifts with every headline.
In a nation full of questions.
In a world filled with noise, the truth needs a voice.
The policies that shapes our world and the economy that determines our future.
Every hour, every day, the grapevine keeps buzzing.
And together, we are committed to telling the stories that shape our world because your voice is our focus.
Don't forget, our voice matters the most. Let us come together and share our concerns.
What happens in the hush behind hangar doors? Who signs the papers that gamble with lives? Which truths were grounded before they even ever had wings? If you've ever buckled a seatbelt at 30,000 feet, if you've ever stared out of that tiny window and wondered who's really in control of the skies, it isn't just flight, it's power, it's politics, it's pressure sealed in steel. We're peeling back the clouds from runway risks to sky-high secrets. We're diving deep where most dare not to look. Aviation Scope, every Sunday at 7 p.m. only on Voice of the People TV. We don't just report, we reveal. We don't just ask, we uncover.
Well, hello and welcome to Neza on Voice of the People TV. I am Vivian Oguche.
And I am Nenna Ndomdioto. Before we begin the news, kindly visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Here are the headlines. Shettima and officials honor fallen and serving troops.
PDP pushes for enhanced welfare for security personnel.
Shettima presides over NEC meeting.
NIS clarifies VAT applies to fees and not transfers.
Court dismisses case against Senator Natasha.
Momodu joins ADC and rules out election bid.
On the foreign scene, vote counting underway in Uganda amid Reagan claim.
Well, in business news, Nigeria's inflation drops to 15.15% in December 2025.
In sports, Super Eagles regroup in Casablanca for bronze clash with Egypt.
And in the world of entertainment, celebrities react to Super Eagles' loss.
Now the news and details. Vice President Kashim Shettima has government officials to honor fallen and serving members of the Nigerian military at the Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day ceremony in Abuja. The event, observed every January 15, commemorates the sacrifices of soldiers in both foreign missions and internal security operations. The 2026 ceremony began with a parade inspection by Vice President Shettima, while representing President Bola Tinubu alongside the commander of the Guards Brigade, Brigadier General Adebisi Onosoya. Dignitaries were then led to the cenotaph for the laying of wreath, followed by a minute of silence for the fallen. The Vice President was joined by the Senate President, Deputy Speaker of the House, Minister of Defense, Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, and the High Commissioner of Cameroon. Service chiefs led by the Chief of Defense Staff, General Olufemi Oluyede, also laid wreath, followed by the Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Air Staff, Chief of Naval Staff, the Inspector General of Police, and other officials. The ceremony concluded with 3 volleys fired by the firing party, the signing of the anniversary register by the Vice President, and the release of pigeons to mark the occasion.
In the meantime, military veterans have praised the Military Pensions Board for introducing electronic pension verification, calling it a major relief that has eased stress and improved access for retirees. The veteran spoke to newsmen in Abuja during the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day. Retired Nigerian Air Force Master Warrant Officer Emmanuel Waniko said the digital process eliminates the hardship of physical verification, which often involved long-distance travel and long waits. Retired Nigerian Army Master Warrant Officer Magaji Abdallah described the initiative as wonderful, especially for retirees in rural areas and abroad. Grace Henry, National Chairman of the Nigerian Legion, added that electronic verification has strengthened transparency, improved efficiency, and reduced the burden on elderly veterans.
Elsewhere, Edo State joined the nation in commemorating the 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance Day. Government officials, security chiefs, members of the Nigerian Legion, and members of fallen heroes gathered at the museum grounds in Benin City to honor officers who gave their lives defending Nigeria. Correspondent Rhoda Journey reports.
Nigerians on Thursday marks the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day, with Edo State holding its ceremony at the Museum Ground, Benin City, to honor military personnel who paid the supreme sacrifice.
Inspection is done to showcase the loyalty of the troops and their readiness to undertake the cause of which they have been commissioned. And
you have your permission to carry on with the rest of the parade, Your Excellency.
The event featured the laying of wreaths at the cenotaph, the ceremonial release of pigeons, a military parade, and interdenominational prayers attended by government officials, security chiefs, traditional rulers, members of the Nigerian Legion, and families of fallen heroes. Speaking at the ceremony, the Edo State Governor, the Speaker of the House of Assembly, the Commissioner of Information and Strategy, the State Chairman of the Nigerian Legion, and widows of deceased officers paid glowing tributes to the fallen heroes and called for improved welfare and sustained support for serving and retired personnel.
We are here to honor them today, and I believe that their soul is resting in peace. I also believe that the people that are serving Nigeria, they can see how Nigerians are honoring their fellow departed heroes.
We must celebrate our fallen heroes because they've laid their life for peace to reign in this country. All I will say today is to commiserate with the family and say may their soul rest in perfect peace.
People recognize that the importance of this day and they turn up to pay their last respects to our fallen people.
It means a lot. It makes me to think back of my fellow soldiers that lose during the war, and to remember our stand today. But all what we are praying, we are begging the government, but they are not treating us good.
I'm not happy. So they still make me to remember my husband, because my husband fought for. He died in Maiduguri, and his body was mixing. So the government, they are not assisting us with the widows for anything. Now we came like that, we are going back like that. For how many years now we'll be coming here?
Rhoda Johnny, VOP TV News.
Rhoda, thank you. Well, in a related development, River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has ordered the immediate employment of children of fallen servicemen in the state. The directive was given during the Remembrance Day ceremony at the Government House, Port Harcourt. Fubara said the move reflects the state government's commitment to supporting the armed forces, security agencies, and families of personnel who died in the line of duty. He directed the secretary to the state government, Benebo Anabraba, to ensure immediate implementation. The governor also reaffirmed the state's support for military formations through logistics and welfare assistance to enhance operations. He commended troops deployed nationwide, particularly those combating insurgency in the northeast, banditry and kidnapping in the northwest and north central, and security challenges in the southeast and south-south. Fubara paid tribute to fallen soldiers from past wars, peacekeeping missions, and recent counterinsurgency operations.
In the meantime, the People's Democratic Party has called for improved welfare for members of the armed forces, as well as security and intelligence personnel to boost their effectiveness. National Chairman Tanimu Turaki made a call in a statement in Abuja to mark the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day. He has urged the federal government to adequately fund security agencies to neutralize agents of insecurity and restore peace across the country. Turaki expressed PDP's condolences to families of service members who died in the line of duty protecting Nigeria's territorial integrity and sovereignty.
Well, turning to other stories now, the Vice President Kashim Shettima has presided over the 156th National Economic Council meeting at the Aso Rock Villa, Abuja. The hybrid meeting is the council's second since President Bola Tinubu directed the NEC to identify and rehabilitate grazing reserves into ranches. The directive was issued at the Federal Executive Council meeting on December 10, 2025, with the NEC tasked to work with the Ministry of Livestock Development to develop a roadmap for transforming Nigeria's livestock industry.
In another development, the Nigeria Revenue Service, NRS, has clarified that the 7.5% value-added tax applies only to charges collected by banks for their services and not to the actual money customers transfer. The clarification comes after reports suggesting VAT will be charged directly on bank transfers, which the NRS described as incorrect and misleading. In a statement, the service said VAT has always applied to banking services under Nigeria's tax system, and the new Nigerian Tax Act does not impose any additional tax burden on customers. The statement was signed by Dari Adekombi, Special Advisor on Media to the NRS Chairman.
And now to legal matters. Justice Chizoba Orji of an Abuja High Court has struck out an alleged defamation case against Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti-Oduaghan filed by the federal government. The suit was discontinued following an application by the prosecution led by Adironke Imana. Senator Akpoti's counsel, West Idahosa, requested the matter to be struck out and all documents belonging to the senator and her sureties be returned. The court approved the requests, discharging the sureties and ordering the return of their documents. The senator had been accused of defaming the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, and former Kogi Governor Yahaya Bello. After the ruling, Akpoti commended the court.
Well, I can't even count. Let me just say this. You see, in life, there are certain situations that test your faith in your country, and these two cases were one of them. But I give God the gratitude and the deep appreciation to the good people of Nigeria, Kogi State, and especially Kogi Central for their stand with me through this ordeal. And the withdrawal of these two federal government cases against me only proves what we've always known, that these cases were maliciously instigated by two individuals who misused power to their advantage in witch hunting an innocent person, which is myself. But I'd like to extend a sincere appreciation to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for having been briefed the truth, and in his commitment to justice, ordered the discontinuance of the two cases. So finally, I appreciate my husband, my beloved husband. Thank you so much, my love. Come forward. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your support. Even when I didn't believe in things, you did. You stood for me. Thank you. My team, my party, my staff, everybody. In short, I can't even begin to mention the people. Thank you all so much. I have never doubted that Nigeria is a land of possibility.
That was Natasha Akpoti-Oduaghan. We now move on. Former presidential candidate Dele Momodu has officially joined the African Democratic Congress. Momodu made a declaration in Benin City while addressing supporters, saying he's acting in the interest of the people and not seeking any elective office in the state. He said his mission in the ADC is to rescue Nigeria from what he described as one-party dominance, while contributing to Edo State's political development and prioritizing the welfare of the people. The Vision magazine publisher resigned from the People's Democratic Party in July 2025, citing the party's takeover by what he called anti-democratic forces.
Well, joining us virtually to analyze these stories is Chijoke Orji. Chijoke is a public affairs analyst. Chijoke, always a pleasure to have you join us. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Good evening. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So let's hit the ground running, right? Vice President Kashim Shettima led top government officials to honor fallen heroes and 7 members of the Nigerian military at the Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day ceremony in Abuja. And then there was, the letting out of pigeons and all of that, the laying of wreaths and all. I don't know if you've been watching these videos. What does it bring to your mind, talking about the Armed Forces Remembrance Day ceremony?
Well, it's very unfortunate. Days like this should sound meaningful because we see other nations, how much attention it pays to it. Especially because we're also looking at those that are currently in service. They are seeing how the fallen heroes are being treated. What then is the motivation to lay down their lives for their country? A country now, we can use the word, being bedeviled by, complete malignment or destruction of leadership. I mean, it is highly condemnable that at this time, the nation is still yet to understand or have a goal as to how to address the continued issues being raised every year. You can see the faces of the widows and the widowers, which reflects the mood of the so-called celebration. If people are continuously being impoverished, being made to face the harshest conditions, even when their spouses have laid down their lives serving this country, and this is the very best we can get. This is a time the president of our dear nation is nowhere to be found, only to suddenly emerge in Dubai recently, being colorfully decorated by ministers who we don't know how these fundings are being disbursed as regards their trips and the wastages, while the people who are protecting the integrity of the nation are left to wallow not just in poverty, but in pains. Look at across all the states, how the looks of the 7 military officers, what they have left, the ones who have died, what they have left behind. I'm sure that the so-called wishes of may they rest in peace, it's obviously not achievable because they will never be happy looking back at what is happening to their loved ones. And yet the same nation is yet to address this, but continuously lay very disheartened, disjointed grasses. You can see the wreaths being laid even by the vice president. It's highly unbelievable. I mean, with so much preparation of this ceremony that starts with the Nigerian military being reduced to beggars. You see them across all ministries, looking for the directors and permanent secretaries and even the junior officers to purchase the emblem or to support them, including the president and the vice president. Now it was alleged that the current Senate president had to dip hand from his own personal pocket to dash the military that is protecting the nation. It is so shameful. And we'll ask what more needs to be done to strengthen our own integrity. Because a nation without a military is not a nation and cannot be said to stand. That is why all that is taking place in Nigeria, under the watchful eyes of our own dear leaderships, and they cannot account for what is happening. It is extremely condemnable, and indeed, I think Nigerians need to rise to ask questions. That we can't continue to do the same thing every year and wishfully think that these problems are being addressed. It doesn't make sense. You can't continue to impoverish and, no late programs. Look at the military pensioners, what they go through. If you have experienced what they go through, every time there is always one form of nasty accreditation or verification that takes place. Some of these people die in queues. It has not changed in the past 25, 30 years. The same thing you see reoccurring. So who would bail the cat? It is highly, highly condemnable, and I'm wishing that this year will serve as an open reminder. Now we have, for amongst the very first time after the immediate past administration, a former and immediate past serving military officer appointed to the Ministry of Defense and now being allocated with the highest ministerial budgets. Mm-hmm. We hope he will look at, redeeming some of these images, especially with the welfare packages of the men at the front line and those that have died, because these must change. Nigeria must be renewed truly for a new hope to stand.
Okay, thank you for speaking so passionately. Well, the People's Democratic Party has also, just like you've said, they've also called for improved welfare for members of the armed forces. And they also mentioned security and intelligence personnel to boost effectiveness. But I want to ask you, though I know you've spoken a bit about this, but what strategies can Nigeria put in place, or can the federal government put in place to ensure that this Remembrance Day is not just a Remembrance Day? Let it be a time and, a period, or let it just be something that can be able to boost our officers, or the morale of our officers, rather.
First of all, it is how you take care of people that you get the very best in them. We know the Nigerians invest so much in the training of officers, but how well do we take care of these individuals that are serving, both be it at the police, because everything we have that should even be a paramilitary has been elevated to force, including the Nigerian police, which is now also referred to as the Nigerian police force. Now, we need to look at the welfare packages, because if you intentionally impoverish people and you arm them, what you've simply done is to destroy the fiber of integrity. You should never expect a honest individual from a hungry stomach. It is never practicable. A man cannot be hungry and then you arm him and expect that he will be, delivering on integrity. It doesn't work that way. Let us not forget that the same people go to the same markets that everybody goes to, including the senators and the House of Representative members and all the permanent secretaries go to. You don't have special services or cater that as it is done in other nations, where 7 military officers are retired or for any reason at all are no longer in service, are given certain level of considerations. In every aspect of the community, they are considered first. There are lots of concessions given to them, be it in the discounts they are given, be it in the welfare housings, be it in the transportation, be it in the hospitals, be it in the cutting across, just to ensure that these individuals, who we know in most cases are not the high earners, but that an average take-home should be able to take care of these people and not to live in impoverished penury. In fact, if you look at the last administrations after President Olusegun Obasanjo, he said that the military officers, the police, and other paramilitaries fared well, better than what we currently have today, where it is now from hands to mouth, where we now see the Nigerian, militaries being dressed in tattered wares and tattered boots, despite the fact that the nation budgets and spends so much money that ends up in private pockets, and not a single individual has been held accountable because they are always above board and they're bigger than the institutions. If PDP are standing as an opposition, is calling on this, I'm hoping that the APC-led administration will look at it differently and stop this idea of everything being political and look inwards and know that there's an urgent need to address these issues, especially in the houses. If you are, opportune to visit the military housing units, you will cry for our dear nation. The worst is even the police. Look at the training colleges, what they have been reduced to. It is now in most cases either a business center for the ones that are still standing firm. But in most cases where it is said to be an environment inhabited by persons, when you get there, not even pigs can be bred in such environments. Why? Because we have a government that has never cared, and every time it is always about claims. It is always about looting and corruptions. And at the end of the day, nobody is held accountable. If the government must move forward with policing, securing the nation, you must invest rightly. You must be able to understand and be able to allocate an emolument that will be livable wage for each serving officers and ensure that those who are retired are paid promptly their pensions. I'm wondering why in our dear nation we still have backlogs of over 30 months, over 40 months of unpaid pensions, and the nation is still moving forward like nothing is happening. What have you simply done? You have simply created the chaos in the society and only watching it out or supervising it. Because when you don't pay people salary, they must find a way to survive. And yet, all the successive administrations come and go without being, held accountable. Where does all the money go to? Where does their pensions and the other contributions that were deducted while these individuals were in service, what happens to those monies? And yet, we still pretend that all is well. That the only way to move the nation forward is to bring in more tax burdens on the ones that are barely trying to survive. That at the end of the day, there is nothing to show for the usage of the tax other than the continued borrowing of loans that we have never seen being judiciously used. I was hoping that the Bola led administration will come in with a renewed hope agenda of saying, let's even look at what is the average take-home pay of a serving military personnel or police officer, so that we can make these people incorruptible. Because when you give people the needed to live and survive, if they are not going against the law, you can now rightfully say that there's something wrong. But in situations where you have not even provided in the basic needs, you have thrown them on the street to survive, and today we have seen them being reduced to being used as errand boys. Look at the military personnel escorting drivers who are carrying sometimes contraband goods, carrying even water. Nothing today that does not need escort of 7 police officers or military officers, which calls to query as to how indeed we have been reduced to a shamed country where our personnels are completely being messed up.
Well, Chijoke, can I come in here?
Highly unpardonable and unforgivable.
You know, there's something you said earlier on that I want for us to pursue. You talked about the tax laws and how it impoverishes the vulnerable. Now, the Nigeria Revenue Service has clarified that the 7.5% value-added tax applies only to charges collected by banks for their services and not to the actual money customers would transfer. This is coming on the heels of massive backlash as regards this particular one. Now, does this leave you convinced or even more confused, I wonder?
I think Oyedele got it extremely wrong. You see, being overambitious in a country like this only shows that we have put in the wrong individuals at the helm of affairs. You don't appoint somebody who has no knowledge of the working economy of the country. You're asking to be taxed on every funds that goes into the bank. The same taxes applies when you're withdrawing it. The same tax applies when you're buying any goods or services. The same tax applies to the individual who you bought goods, taking back the money into the account. What have you done? You've done a circle taxes. And at the end of the day, you have made services more expensive. At the expense of who? The middlemen who are the collectors. Look at what happens in Lagos, for instance, where the agboros are empowered under the glare of the entire whole nation to collect and sometimes even beat and maim these drivers, all in the name that is a tax requested to be collected by local governments and even at the state level. And who do they hold accounts to? To the people who sent them. And what do they do with the rest? They live in affluent lifestyle. What impact does it make to the consumers? The transport gets hiked. The transport you use in going out in the morning is never the same thing as when you're coming back. Nobody can explain to how this was arrived to. And like a normal thing, people have been beat to submit and follow it like a normal thing. It's the same thing we're bringing to the federal. What we're now trying to do is to even collapse the little energy of the economy. Have you noticed that even the banks themselves have not been running optimally? Most of the banks, if you take out the scarecrows or the wardrobes, which I wouldn't want to go into detail because of their image, which would come under attack, you will see that, truthfully speaking, a lot of them are only standing on just one leg. And you know what it is when an individual or a company or a building is standing on one foot. It is extremely dangerous. And yet, you're thinking that the best thing to do is to ensure that people no longer bring out, or carry out transactions in a more transparent manner. Let me give you an instance what this could happen. It would lead to black marketeering transactions. Well, it simply means that you want to go out and buy anything at the average mama person's selling by your street, rather than the usual convenient transfer to her bank through the various banks and other online banking systems. She would rather you pay her cash, because when the cash transaction is carried out, the FIRS or the LRS or the various state internal revenues will never be aware. And who bears the losses? It is the same government. Because what you have is that you will now have a limitation to the transactions that can be monitored, thus encouraging this same black marketeering. And what it will also do, it will cost the entire nation the more, because it means that currencies will continue to be exchanged by hand. It will require printing or reprinting or replacement of this, because they will always continue to occur damages. And let us also be right, these same printings are not being done completely in Nigeria. It is still the same, expenses. And in most cases, cost more to print a single note cost more to print a single note than the actual value of the notes. So who then will be gaining? It means that we'll still be shooting ourselves in the foot. What this implies is that the government should ideally have, since you opened this for discussions, you've even had reputable companies that consult to the government, KPMG, and a few other organizations have come out to criticize and say, these your moves are completely wrong. Withdraw it, reassess it, and see how this can be workable. What I was even expecting that they were doing is encouraging more people to get onto the tax-paying nets.
Okay.
So that when you now extend it, you can now friendly make the people understand the usages of this tax and also make it even more transparent.
Okay.
But if you say, for instance, a state collected XYZ billions of dollars, this is what it has used for it. There's a monitoring. It is so sad that even the taxpayers at the end of the day don't get any tax returns.
Okay, Chidi,
So-
let me, sorry, I have to cut you here. But before we let you go, sorry, I had to cut you that way. Before we let you go, I wanted to quickly speak about this news that has actually trended. And it's actually one news that every Nigerian would actually want to applaud. And that's the court striking out an alleged defamation case against the Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, filed by the federal government. Can you just quickly speak about that before we leave? Just briefly, please.
It is a 2026 and it is election year. Nigerians know that this is when the lobbying has started. The president wants more corporations, he wants more people in the nets, and he wants overall complete victory. And he knows the only way to achieve it is to ensure that they have fewer enemies. Because when you have more enemies, it puts more challenges out there. In the case of this Uduaghan's matter, Akpoti, it was definitely, completely a flawed matter because there were no basis for even filing this all in the first instance. But because they wanted to legitimize to ensure that the Senate president was not put to shame or even asked to defend what the lady has brought up. Let us not forget that the primary thing she brought has not been addressed. Mm-hmm. The Senate president has not been probed as regards the sexual harassment that she put on the floor. And any meaningful investor that intends to come to Nigeria is listening. That should have been the major concern of the government, that the image that has been battered means a lot. And it would have been onerous on the Senate president to clear out these allegations first, not the stoppage of a failed matter, because in the end, it was definitely going to be a failed-bound project. But like you are always continuing to see, this is an administration that will rather go after people that speak out their minds or speak out anything that recognizes, some sort of critics. And they will rather do anything to quench such individuals and go after to persecuting these individuals, even when they know that it is the right of the civic responsibility of a citizen to criticize when he feels that things are not going the right way. Some of us today are still being persecuted and are being labeled all sorts and are being targeted by the same government. Why? Because we're simply saying enough of all of this charity, enough of all these misdirections, enough of these continued wastages, corruptions, and lootings of the national treasury. Where a country where the president can decide to go on a holiday and nobody questions, and every time he appears at any particular event, it is graced by majority of the ministers. When then do they have the time to do the works? Tell us how many presidents travel around the world with their central bank governors, with their minister of finances. Every point and call. Look at all the numerous trips that the president has embarked on. These individuals are even ahead to even welcome the president. It is a shameful thing, and Nigerians are not demanding for equity and fairness. They are not demanding for accountability, which should have been the number one thing that every sane individual should be asking for.
Chijoke,
to have these wastages, and we must also continue to speak out against all odds, because it is our legitimate right, and we will never stop fighting. Even if many of us are continuing to be killed and labeled all sorts and be charged with all kinds of treasonable felonies, even in most cases that individuals like us have been speaking without any form of arms or in any way at all coercing citizens to go against the government. All we're simply asking is fairness, accountability, govern the nation in the rightful manner.
Chijoke,
belong to all of us and not a personal resources.
And what you've just said is not too much to ask for, is it?
That's right.
It's really not too much. Very illuminating today. Thank you so much, Chijoke. I appreciate
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we've been speaking with Chijoke Oji. He is a public affairs analyst. And now the rest of the news. The Edo State government has confirmed the release of students of Ambrose Ele University, Ekpoma, who were remanded at the Obiaja Correctional Center following the weekend's protest. The release of 52 detainees earlier remanded by Benin High Court on charges including malicious damage and armed robbery was announced by the Chief Press Secretary to Governor Monday Okpolo Patrick Ebojele. The students had protested against insecurity in Ekpoma before hoodlums allegedly hijacked the demonstration, attacking traders, burning tires, and blocking roads. During a stakeholders' engagement at the government house in Benin, Ebojele met with the released students and other affected persons, assuring them of the administration's commitment to dialogue, reforms, and the development of the university.
We now move on to Anambra State, where the state's police command has arrested members of a criminal gang linked to an attack on the convoy of former Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige. 2 suspects were killed during a gun battle with police. The command described the operation as a major breakthrough in its efforts to rid the state of criminal element. Police Public Relations Officer SP Tochukwu Ikenga says operatives of the Rapid Response Squad, Akuzu, acting on credible intelligence, ambushed a 5-man gang at the Enugu-Agidi junction. He said the suspects, believed to be armed robbers and cultists, engaged the operatives in a gun duel that lasted about 2 hours. 2 suspects were fatally injured, while 3 others escaped with gunshot wounds. According to Ikenga, one of the suspects confessed before dying that the gang carried out the early attack on Senator Ngige's convoy and belonged to the Vikings confraternity on a retaliatory mission. Commending the operatives, the Commissioner of Police Ikioye Orutugo ordered intensified efforts to arrest the fleeing suspects and urged hospitals to report cases of gunshot injuries to the police.
And now concerns are growing over the quality of healthcare delivery in Nigeria as allegations of medical negligence continue to dominate public discourse. The outcry follows several high-profile incidents, including the reported death of a child of author Chimamanda Adichie in Lagos, and cases in Kano where surgical items were allegedly left inside patients, rekindling a national debate over the adequacy of existing oversight. Medical practitioner Dr. Charles Adeogun says weak accountability, poor working conditions, and overstretched health workers are putting lives at risk. Our correspondent Unyeka Ogolo reports.
Reported cases of medical negligence across the country, with experts pointing out to pressure on health workers and weak accountability in the health system.
Medical negligence refers to when there is a drop in the quality of care that patients receive from a health professional. So when they get below that standard, and the consequences of harm that comes to the patient, medical negligence.
Dr. Adeogun says many health workers are outstretched, making it difficult to give patients the attention and follow-up care they need.
So basically, there are lots of factors that may be responsible for this. Like you rightly said, we have shortage of health professionals. You have them being overwhelmed and overburdened with long hours of work. You have poor infrastructures, poorly equipped facilities. And then also, I think to a very large extent, when you have a shortage of doctors and they are attending to a large population, you know, the quality of care drops.
He's calling for urgent reforms, including better working conditions and stronger oversight of medical practice.
Some of these things can be curbed by making sure that there's better work conditions for health practitioners. And then we also think that, like we said, the government should make sure facilities are well equipped. And we think that new agencies should crop up. New agencies, you know, that would work in such a way that they would implement a medical legal course, meaning that when cases of mismanagement, malpractice, or preventable deaths occur, these agencies would be, you know, they will have the regulation or the ability or the capacity to be able to, investigate these cases and making sure that these cases are thoroughly investigated, and anybody that is indicted, any professional indicted of negligence or malpractice, there will be real consequences, and these consequences will be laid out. People will lose their licenses, hospitals will be closed down, people may go to jail, heavy compensations will be paid, because you may really need to take this strict path for us to enforce what we really want to enforce. And these agencies may just consist mainly of medical professionals and legal professionals working hand in hand, investigating cases that have happened, like the recent occurrences, making sure that once you go deep into those investigations and you truly find out that at some point there was a gap in the care, or there was delay in action, or there was negligence or malpractice of any form, then the agency should swing into action.
The medical practitioner also urged patients to be more informed and actively involved in their healthcare decisions.
A lot of people should be able to ask questions. It is your right to know about your health. It is your right to know what surgery you are going into or you are scheduled for. It is your right to know what the process is all about. It is your right to ask, okay, this surgery, what is the recovery rate? What is the recovery time? And then, have a clear picture of what is going on, because that helps you to be able to know what you are going in for. And then, of course, there's a consent that is signed before every procedure.
I am Monica Golo, reporting for VOP TV.
Thank you very much, Monica. The National Orientation Agency has asked the National Union of Road Transport Workers in Yobe to review fares following the drop in premium motor spirit prices. Acting State Director Miriam Shettima made a call during a courtesy visit to the NURTW branch in Damaturu. She also stressed the need for the union to promote safety, address overloading and overspeeding, and protect passengers' lives and property. In response, NURTW Chairman Mohammed Meina thanks the agency for its support, saying the union had engaged authorities to stabilize fares, taking into account the high cost of spare parts. He described NOA's reorientation program as essential and pledged continued collaboration with the agency and security agencies to ensure smooth transport operations in the state.
Well, on the foreign scene, votes are being counted in Uganda amid an internet shutdown and opposition claims of rigging in presidential and parliamentary elections. Presidential candidate Bobi Wine said on social media that the process involved massive ballot stuffing, though no evidence was provided. Delays of up to 4 hours have been reported due to malfunctioning biometric machines used to verify voters. The Electoral Agency apologized for the technical glitches and said officials are working to resolve them. Incumbent President Yoweri Museveni, 81, who has been in power since 1986, is seeking a 7th term. He faces a challenge from 43-year-old pop star turned politician Bobi Wine. The Electoral Commission says the presidential results will be announced on Saturday.
And now to business. The National Bureau of Statistics says Nigeria's headline inflation rate fell to 15.15% in December 2025, down from 17.33% in November. The figure contained in the NBS Consumer Price Index report is also significantly lower than the 34.8% recorded in December 2024. On a month-on-month basis, inflation eased to 0.54% in December compared to 1.22% in November, indicating a slower rise in prices. The NBS explained that recent adjustment to a CPI methodology accounted for expected spikes in the data, stressing that the changes were technical and do not reflect worsening economic conditions. Food inflation also declined sharply, dropping year-on-year to 10.84% in December 2025 from 39.84%.
Well, in business news, the National Bureau of Statistics says Nigeria's headline inflation rate fell to 15.15% in December 2025, down from 17.33% in November. The figure contained in the MBS Consumer Price Index report is also significantly lower than the 34.8% recorded in December 2024. On a month-on-month basis, inflation eased to 0.54% in December compared to 1.22% in November, indicating a slower rise in prices. The MBS explained that recent adjustments to its CPI methodology accounted for expected spikes in the data, stressing that this is also adequate. Food inflation also declined sharply, dropping year-on-year to 10.84% in December 2025 from 39.84% a year earlier.
We now move on to sport, but before then, we'll quickly take a break and return with sports stories.
This is Health Check, your weekly guide to better living, smarter choices, and trusted answers. From everyday wellness to urgent health issues, we've got you covered. Health Check, only on Voice of the People television, where your health has a voice.
Mr. Familoni, and here's to View PTV. Keep watching, stay tuned, do not touch that dial.
My name is Made Kuti, and you're watching BOPTV. Keep watching.
Welcome, my name is Zika Davis. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, boys, viewers, everybody, boys and girls. This is VOP TV. Do you know what that means? Voice of the People TV. You don't have a voice, don't come here. You better make sure your voice is heard.
Are you ready for the extraordinary? Something big is happening.
We now move on to sports news. Nigeria Super Eagles have shifted focus to the third-place match against Egypt at the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. The team lost 4-2 on penalties to host Morocco in Wednesday's semi-final. The Super Eagles arrived in Casablanca on Thursday to begin preparations for the encounter. Nigeria will face Egypt at the Mohammed V Stadium on Saturday, with kick-off set for 5 p.m. Nigerian time.
Entertainment news is next.
Welcome to the entertainment news. Nigerian celebrities have reacted to the Super Eagles' 4-2 penalty loss to Morocco in Rabat, ending their bid for a fourth AFCON title. So Commander Bovi Uboma blamed the defeat on player distractions, citing social media, fan praise, and unpaid match bonuses, urging players to commit fully when representing Nigeria. Commentator Very Darkman singled out Samuel Chukwueze for underperforming despite his European experience, while praising Calvin Bassey for his efforts. He also criticized the referee, saying decisions went against Nigeria. Singer Tenny, posting from a hospital bed, claimed she fell sick after the loss and criticized the Ghanaian referee, calling the officiating unfair. She also expressed frustration towards Ghanaian music stars Shatta Wale and Stonebwoy. In another development, actress Regina Daniels' friend Anne has regained her freedom after spending 2 nights in detention. Anne was released on Wednesday evening after the case was adjourned to March 5th, 2026. Regina Daniels' elder brother Sammy disclosed this in an Instagram post, adding that Anne had earlier been taken to court without access to her lawyer. So Anne was arrested in Lagos on Monday and flown to Abuja in a private jet following a theft allegation by Regina Daniels' estranged husband, Senator Ned Ahmed Nwoko. The allegation comes 2 months after Regina Daniels reportedly parted ways with the senator over claims of domestic violence. Elsewhere in the world of entertainment, Olivia Dean and Little Sims lead the 2026 Mobile Awards nomination celebrating black music in the UK and beyond. Dean's album The Art of Loving and Little Sims' Lutus each received 4 nods, including Album of the Year. Other multiple nominees include Pink Pantheress, Skepta, Central C, Flow, and newcomers Queen and Jim Legacies. The award ceremony will take place in Manchester on 26 March, marking the 30th anniversary of the mobile organization founded in 1996. And that's it for entertainment. I am Precious Agamano.
Thank you so much. And that wraps it up for us on News Hour. But before we go, a quick look at the headlines. Shettima, officials honor falling in 7 troops.
PDP pushes for enhanced welfare for security personnel.
Also, Shettima presides over NEC meeting.
And